Hi, fellow flower lovers, back again. I'm sorry that I rambled so much yesterday. I didn't realise it was such a long video. We're going to improve on that today. I'm Judith from Sydney Flower School, and I'm here just on a daily routine to just bring you a little bit of floral happiness. And yesterday we talked about tulips because, for those of you who don't know, I'm posting what flower is this? A flower of the day on our Sydney Flower School Facebook page. Yesterday were tulips, and we did a little experiment on tulips and how they grow, and we actually measured these white ones, if you remember, if you were with us yesterday or in our last video. And like I was saying, they grow in their stem length, and their heads grow as well. Remember that I said this was a little single, and there it is, just one row of petals, I think. Yep, just one row of petals, and then it's lovely little stamens and things inside. Whereas these beautiful red ones that I wasn't quite sure yesterday whether they were doubles or parrots, and I was saying that a parrot is double coloured. Now if you look at the back of this, can you see that it's yellow and red? So these are parrots. This is a parrot tulip. You may be able to see it more on this little one. Parrot usually has those double striped outer petals, so that's the way you can tell whether it's a parrot or not. If in doubt, ask your florist, or ask, you know, if you're a business, ask your flower grower, you know, which variety is this. You'll find that these little, most of our tulips here in Australia come from de Boer tulips, D-E-B-O-E-R, de Boer tulips. Amazing tulip growers in Victoria, and your grower will be able to tell you what variety they are. Now, these little single ones are the least expensive, and then obviously, you know, because they would take more to grow, these more exotic ones, these are a little more expensive, but still fabulous value, because you can see that, remember, if you were with us, that these were quite long, they were getting older, they were quite sort of droopy, and I said that I was going to cut them back to allow, you know, them to hold their height. The other thing that I didn't say yesterday, the other reason they droop is because their heads get so big, and they're heavy, they're sort of top heavy. So that's, you know, you can see that I've cut these back probably, you know, half their length. Now I have a terrible naughty torty pussycat called Tigger the Terrible, or Tigger the Naughty Torty, and she just loves flowers when I bring them into the house, and, you know, loves to attack them. So this poor baby got squashed last night, but she can just go into a little, don't throw anything out, you know, keep it, find a, you know, an egg cup, or, you know, it'll just sit in something beautiful by the side of your bed. Don't, you know, don't waste things, and especially in this time, look after them and think about, you know, how I can use these. Now, today I'm going to show you a couple of ways to reinvent these tulips. These, you know, are lovely, and obviously this vase is far too long, but I put them in here to hold them up. Now, if you, and I'm going to sort of reinvent both of them today. If you remember, or you were with us yesterday, I measured them before I put them in the vase, and a little test, I wish you could all yell out and tell me what length they were when I put them in the vase. That's right, they were 42 centimetres. Well, let me tell you, this one now is 48.5. So that's grown 6.5 centimetres in 24 hours. all right? And the head's gotten bigger. The head's not going to get much bigger than this, but, you know, they're cute. Isn't that a tulip? I mean, that's just a tulip. If you think of a tulip image, that's what you think of. All right, so that's that. Now, so I'm going to reinvent these two. Now, our flower of the day today are dahlias, or dahlias, however you want to pronounce it. So gorgeous and so popular, have found newfound popularity in the last few years, simply because our design styles have changed and our lifestyle and our interiors, and dahlias really you know, are suitable for that. And lots of people are actually planting them too, putting them in their garden. They grow from a corm, which is like a little tuber, and yeah, and they're fabulous. Now, so today, what I wanted to say, if you remember yesterday, I was saying that all flowers have a nominated amount of stems in them, and, oh, can't get those out. A nominated amount of stems in them. Look at these beautiful babies. Okay, now this colour is called Cafe au lait. Now doesn't that just say it? These are Polito dahlias. The Polito Flower Farm is a grower in here in Sydney, and they grow the most magnificent dahlias. So today I'm going to just use one in a design here in a minute. Now, if you were with me yesterday and we were talking about stems and how many stems are in a bunch, and remember I was saying that these big flowers, or these important flowers, are called a main flower. They're also a focal, and if you look at the dahlia, obviously that's a focal flower. You know, you couldn't get much more focal than that. So, but when I said that, you know, the majority of these types of flowers are in tens, that's those basic ones, like I was saying, tulips, roses, carnations, gerbras. There's probably a couple of others that I'm not thinking about at the moment. But then these other more specialised flowers come in bunches of 5. So if you're doing an event or, you know, a party or something, and you're working out how many of everything that you need to know that some things have got 10 stems in them and some things have got 5. So that's something really important that you need to be aware of. And I'm putting the number of stems on our daily What Flower Is This. So these dahlias have 5 stems in them. 1. Now this one we've got a bonus because we've got the little bud as well. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's our dahlias for today, and I am going to just use one of them in a minute. Now, like I said, repurposing. So while you've got your flowers, and don't think that you just have to leave them in the vase as they are for the week or 10 days or however many days they last. And all flowers have different lasting or longevity, survival. And so, change the water every couple of days. Now, I didn't say yesterday, but the 2 best things that you can do to keep your flowers is a clean vase and fresh water. That's all they need. It's just like us. We don't need, masses of sugar or Panadol or whatever. That just gives us a boost, and then we sort of collapse after it. It does exactly the same thing for the flowers. So, fresh water. Like us, we can survive, forever on fresh water. We don't need food as much, and they don't need food as much. And as it is, the flowers have been treated and conditioned by the grower. So as soon as he picks and brings it into his shed, they condition them, they strip all the foliages off, they cut the stems and they put them into a flower food mixture. And so they've been treated, and then they go into the cool room. So they never go straight from the farm to the florist or the flower, flower market. They let them sit for at least, half a day in the flower food, so they're really conditioned. Obviously, if your florist pops one of those little sachets in, fabulous, that gives you, because once you've cut the stems, it wouldn't hurt for them to have another little boost. Don't put the whole sachet in unless it's a huge bunch of flowers. In a vase like these, I'd say, half the sachet one day, and, well, leave them for a couple of days just with water because they have been conditioned. Then the next time you refresh the water, half of the little sachet, and then the next couple of days tip that out and half again. Now, you don't have to take your arrangement out of the vase. You can just hold it up over the sink, hold the flowers and tip the water out, give it a bit of a swizzle around and refresh the water. So, it's not hard to do. All right, so like I said, these are going through stages of development, and they're dying. Obviously, flowers from the minute they're picked are dying. So they're on that trajectory. They're going through their life cycle. So have a look at them. What can I do with this today? Just like I said with this little broken one, pop it in an egg cup, or you might have I've got a tiny, which I'll show you one day, a tiny little vase that a friend brought back from France for me that, I often just put one flower in. So that's, that's perfect for that. All right. Now, we're talking about what flower is this, but I'm also going to do a regular what foliage is this. If you were with me in the last video, you'll know that I absolutely love foliage. And through this time with our videos, I'm actually going to do a lot with foliages, with just foliages. And you'll see how beautiful they are. And if you do have a garden, and you don't have many flowers, I'm sure you've got foliages that you can use. The great thing about to do is do a little test, because not everything is commercial. Not everything goes into the flower market. So we don't know if everything lasts. So it's up to you to do a little test. Pick it, bring it inside, put it into water. If it lasts, for 24 hours or goes on for longer than that, it's usable. You'll find that if it's not pickable, then it will flag really quickly. So there's your little test, little experiment. It's really quick and easy. One of the now I'm just going to bring this beautiful little tin over, and what I've been going to say to you is you don't have to have commercial containers. Anything will do. Anything that will hold water is a container. And if it's porous or not waterproof, pop a Chinese takeaway container inside it if it fits. Pop a cup, a mug, a plastic mug, anything that you can actually then arrange into, but you've got this beautiful container on the outside. So be creative. A basket, line it with a tray or something, plastic tray or something. Anything can be a container. Now, if talking about foliages, one of my all-time favourites, and I know probably one of yours as well, is Dusty Miller or Senecio. Its botanical name is Senecio, and its common name is Dusty Miller. Now, there's a couple of different varieties. This one is the sort of thicker, broader leaf, and there's a lacy one that's not as bulky as this, but very pretty. It's used as a secondary foliage, just to top up. Now, I won't go too much into this, but bunches of foliage, anything that's got multiple petals or leaves, multiple flowers or leaves on a stem, don't come in definite numbered stems. It's about the bulk of the bunch. That's what the picker's looking for when they're picking. Not so much about how many stems, because there might be little stems that have only got a few leaves on them, and there might be great big bulky stems that have got a big clump on them. So in some you might only get 3, in others you might get 10. So again, but we'll cover that further down the track. Now, to make an arrangement, you can't arrange flowers without some sort of frame to work into. It's literally impossible, all right? You need some sort of grid or frame or bulk of some description to hold the flowers. Now, the easiest thing to do, the easiest way to create a base is with foliage. Again, I won't spend too much time on this, but an arrangement really should be at least once the height of the container. Now that container is that high. I don't know how many. Oh, let's use our trusty ruler. How tall is it? 15 centimetres. All right, so really this whole design should be about 30. Now, I don't want it that high. I want it to be a little sort of fat, round one. So to balance the proportion of the container, now remember that we don't want the container to be the hero, we want the flowers to be the hero. So to balance this size, I'm going to make it wider, and that visually will balance out the height of the container. Now, I could just cut this, only that I don't think I need all of that Senecio. I could just cut that short and pop it in the thing, and, you know, Bob's your uncle. It's done. But I'm going to show you, you know, how to do it. Now, round arrangements, round flowers and round foliages, well, this isn't quite round, but it's not long and strappy, make round arrangements. So think of that. It's an easy process. So make your frame round to start with. So I'm just going to cut these down and start making a little perimeter of foliage. See, it's not brain surgery. I'm glad it's not, because I wouldn't be good at that. Okay, and maybe one in the middle, just to give us some roundness. My cat is at my bedroom door, madly trying to get out. Okay, I don't need this great big clumpy bit because I'm going to put other things in it. Now there you are. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just creating a little top in the pot, and you know, there you go. I don't want to tip it too far because there's water in it. Now remember, if you've got handles, that you want the handles at the side. I mean, this is going to be round, so you know it's all right. But if you're doing a front facing, don't end up with it with the handles at the front or on the, you know, at an angle. Keep remembering that you want the handles at the side. Now, all we have to do is pop these little tulips in to make ourselves a little table arrangement. And because they're round, they're going to be easy. And all I'm going to do is a circular motion. So we always want something focal in the middle. Don't have everything around the outside. I know that's a temptation, but, you know, definitely start with one in the middle. So here we go. Now, if you're not sure, cutting flowers is a bit like cutting your hair. Once you cut too much off it, you can't do anything about it. But if you just do it in little sort of snips, you can, you know, make sure that you haven't cut the stem too short, sorry. Now this is, and remember that, I'll try and hold this up more. That's that's taking it right to the bottom of the tin. Now, they're not going, these stems aren't going to go, oh, poor baby, there's two now. These aren't going to go to the bottom of the tin. They're going to be held up by the foliage. So I'm going to cut these probably, you know, about that long, whatever that is, probably 5 centimetres. And I'm going to pop this little one right in the centre. Now, like I said, these tulips are getting old, so their stems are getting really brittle. So when you're doing this, just be careful that you know, you're not being too tough with them. So all I'm going to do is a circle. And when I say a circle, people say how many stems, is it still odd numbers? No, it's not, but it's everything but 4. I'll just show you. If I put 4 around the outside, 4 will always be a square, and that means that that's visually how you will see it. You'll never be able to sort of make it round. So if I show you, can you see how that's created a square? All right. So the minute I put 5 in, or 3, if I'd only had a few tulips, and I would put 3 around the outside. This is looking very Anzac Day, and that's coming up soon, and I'm going to show you something really gorgeous to do on Anzac Day to pop on your front door to show your love. All right, now, so we've got 1 in the middle and 5 around the outside. I'm going to put these extra ones in the centre. If it's going to let me. There we go. And just this gorgeous little bud that will open as well. Okay, and just sort of have the top just a little bit higher, all right? There's our tulips reinvented. Now, I've got just this little bunch of veronica here, which I absolutely adore. White, and it comes in a sort of pink and a mauve. Very cute. And there's bigger varieties of it, so you know this is tiny. Now I meant to do this before I spoke to you, but remember that we want to strip all the foliage below the waterline, because that's what causes bacteria and will shorten the life of your flowers. If you don't want to use your hands, you can use rubber gloves, or just use a little old cloth, an old tea towel or something to you know, to strip them with. It you know, it's soft on the thing. I'll show you in future what a flower stripper looks like, a stem stripper. Okay, so we've nearly done all this, and not only does it tidy up the stems, but it also takes away a lot of the bulk. Can you see there how, you probably can't, but you know, all that came off those stems, and you don't want that in your vase. So all I'm going to do is cut them all to one length, because remember, this is symmetric and it's all, you know, they're all basically the same length. So I'm going to cut everything to one length. It makes it much quicker. And then I'm not going to put them in ones, I'm going to put them in a few placements, so that, you know, there's little groups, and if you just do one at a time, you'll find that it all looks a bit sort of prissy, can I say? Don't know what the right word would be. And it's just adding another dimension to the design. And you've probably got little bits of stuff in the garden like this, if you're lucky. Now, what I was going to say about if you don't have a big garden, I know we're social distancing, but if you called your friend and said, would you mind if I, pick some things out of your garden, I won't come to the house, I'm sure they'd be agreeable to that. The other thing I like to do, well, I like to call it, one of my students many years ago coined the phrase community pruning when I asked her where she got all her beautiful foliage from. Now, please don't be going into other people's houses and picking their things, but, if you're out in the park or whatever and you don't think that, it's too dangerous to be foraging some things, forage as well. I'm sure that in this time that people would be happy to share their beautiful materials. But please ask, even if you knock on somebody's door or send a little note under their door or on their letterbox. Okay, there we go. There's a rejigging of our beautiful tulips that we looked at yesterday. All right, that's that one done. Now, I'm not going to keep you for much longer. All I'm going to do with this other one is just show you a really simple, quick way of making a very cute design. Now, a boat. There's this size, and I have a much bigger one that I'll show you in another time. But if you don't have a boat, you might have something this shape. And you know what's a boat? A gravy boat. So if you've got a decent sized gravy boat, or even a small one, you can do a smaller version of this, all right? So all I'm doing is, actually I'll set it up on my little thing just so gives it a little bit more height. All I'm going to do is take all these tulips, and I may not need them all because it is only a small boat. So I'm going to take off a lot of these lower leaves. Can you see how they've all curled since we were together yesterday? Because I don't want them to be too bulky, and I might just do, 6. And that's what I'm saying to you, that you don't have to use them all up in one thing. Keep some for something else. Just put the others in a lovely sort of single flower vase or something. Sure, you're going to start to improvise. I'm sure you're going to start to think outside the floral square. Okay, so what I've done is a lovely sort of droop. Okay? Just every one of them having their own space. And what I'm going to do now, I've got some water in this vase, what I'm going to do now is just lay them, cut them shorter. Oops, I'm on an angle. Pop them in the vase. Now, they're going to pop up because they're not weighted down enough. So I'm going to weight them down with our beautiful dahlia. Doesn't need to be too big. Oh, yes, it does. What am I thinking? Of course it does. And the other thing that we didn't talk about is that dahlias face out. See how they're facing forward. All right, and there's really nothing you can do about that, although I will give you a little tip further down the track. But obviously fabulous for this because it's just going to sit there. All right. I'm going to pop it in the other way, and that way it will also connect the tulips. So our beautiful big dahlia, and she's going in like this. Oh, I am using more than I thought. The last one, over on this side to cover up that